a scientist who does this. He called it water bridge, where when you put you have water in two sort of glasses, and you put electricity to it, and then the water can walk
Mm-hmm.
from one
Mm-hmm.
glass to another.
Mm-hmm.
Scientists don't quite understand why that is.
Hello, my name's Naranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast, learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Talking to Gitte, the founder of Energetic Leadership, where she blends corporate expertise with visionary, intuitive approach to help leaders grow and thrive. The author of Energetic Leadership, she inspires transformation through keynote mentoring and a focus on energy-based leadership. Enjoy this conversation and thank you for watching. Hello and welcome to Gitte. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing very well at the moment.
Very good. That's what I like to hear, especially after your
Mm.
travels, after our brief conversation we had last time a little while ago. Um, I'm glad you're back home, and I'm excited to get into this conversation about energetic leadership because I see that the world is changing quite drastically, even though slowly and incrementally over the last number of years, but I can only imagine that being catapulted as we move forward into the future based on not only the corporate world and the sector that we live in, but also the people that they are serving. So the
Mm.
consumers, the individuals, the employees, and what they want fulfillment and gain from their lives as well. So share a little bit about your leadership, energetic leadership that you share with individuals and corporations that put them in a space of not just standard leadership, which has been something that's probably been done for decades and decades in the corporate world, but rather adding that energetic slant, if you will, to it. How has that shifted in your perspective on what the world needs in that world, in that space?
Yes, I start maybe a little bit at another, you could say in another area, because I start by looking out the window. So looking at how does the world actually look like? What is it we are seeing? What is the people would say maybe it is trends or forecast or foresight or whatever. So when we look at the corporate world or anyone in an organization who has a responsibility for leading an organization, a business, should be better at looking out the window to see what is actually going on. What is it we have? What kinds of trends? What is the forecast of it? Not just by looking at data, from the old days, but really looking out and understanding what the future holds for us. And if we look at that, we will see that certain things are moving, and especially that humans are starting to disrupt, to use a very corporate word. So we've been talking a lot about technology and all that, but really what is happening now is humans starting to disrupt, to being the disruptor. And business like more to talk about geopolitics and all kinds of things that has to do with either politics or driving the business. But we're seeing, if we look at the trends, which I also have when I talk about energetic leadership, it's not just about talking about energy as an energy frequencies and how it affects or how we are all frequencies, but how do these trends show in different ways in the way that we are leading our businesses. So when I'm talking to leaders or in forecast or in keynotes or workshops or whatever, I use looking out the window. That's just a simple way of saying it, but it's a good way of getting people to talk about something that is more outside them. And by doing that, we can sort of get in through the back door without going into therapy. But at the same time, we're actually talking about inner stuff. So it's a tool of both understanding what's going on, but it's also helping us to have the group to have the dialogue. So that's one part of energetic leadership. And the other part is the more, the personal development. And the second or the third part is the you could say the business development, the thing that you want to look at when you are actually changing or transforming your business.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sort of three elements in it.
Yeah, it is absolutely. How did you recognize that this is a part of your calling of this is what you're here to do at this moment and juncture of your life? How did you come to the identification of that?
I've been working in corporate life and I've been enjoying it, but I've also been frustrated. And I worked very much within areas where it was business development slash into everything to do with customers, customer journey, describing a value proposition, and it all had a lot to do with how is the whole organization pulling all their skills and their doings together to deliver to the customer. And it was often very difficult to actually get together and do it, be a team, work together. And I was wondering, you can have a product, you can have your services, and why is it so difficult to a big team to work together and get you could say a proper delivery. Not saying that of course the product is delivered, but the whole process around it and the feeling around it was not always nice. So it became in some organizations more a blame game, and it was like it was accelerating.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought there must be another way I can, have my influence on what is how can I influence this world in another way.
Mm-hmm.
And being an intuitive and also diving into and accepting that I'm actually an intuitive and visionary person,
Mm-hmm.
which has been sort of locked down. And then I had another thing happening. You could say it's a change maker because I lost my job. So in one, when organizations are changing and people are made redundant and all these things are happening, which is a natural thing, then I got time to have a break, time to be still.
Yeah.
So that combination of frustration, a change maker thing that happened in my life, and the fact that I could be still and just, I ended up starting meditation, and
Mm-hmm.
that sort of unfolded
Mm-hmm.
into what is now my calling.
Beautiful. What do you feel are some of the key attributes that connect you to what you're doing now?
It's attributes like very much stillness,
Mhm.
to be still, and I often talk about it as just, just being still. It's not meditating, it's just shut your mouth
Yeah,
and be still, and you
yeah.
can do it anywhere and take a break or a pause or whatever we call it. That's one thing. Then if you're a little bit more advanced, I use very often, and I you could say teach or recommend, by being still, you start to sense your energy.
Mhm.
So how can you actually reset your energy? So like before I go on here with and have the talk with you, I am just calling back my energy. I'm just resetting, my sense of hearing, my sense of feeling, and my sense of just being in my body. So I'm, gathering my energy. Uh, if I want to do something which is a little bit more deep, it would be meditating, or you could say, I call it, talk to them above.
Mhm. Mhm.
So being in my sort of soul power,
Right.
and having my board members talk to
Yes.
me from
Yes.
above.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of then you could go into how do you eat, how do you sleep,
Sure.
being nature. But I'm very focused. That's also why I talk about energetic leadership, because it's going back to the energy again. So I'm very focused on attributes that's linked to how do I sense the energy? How do I work with it? How do I improve it?
Mhm.
My sense of it. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. What is your ultimate intentions, be it from the energetic leadership perspective or the skills and tools that you've developed for yourself? What are the intentions you want to share with that and with the world or not?
Yes, I would very much like to share it. So that is my calling, to try and communicate it. Basically, it's really that we understand that energy is physics. It's not something
Mhm.
funny, weird stuff.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
so so it's going from, you can talk about spirituality, but a lot of people have a lot of prejudices about that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to take it back to, it is just about, it's physics.
Yeah.
It's natural. It's been there all the time. It's really old wine on new bottles, or books,
Right.
or talks, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So the understanding of that, we have actually over the last, you could say, 300 years, been teaching ourselves that it's very good to just to think. You should be able to think about what your solution is, or
Mhm.
you should have studied or be an academic, or we have refined the whole thing about everything that's happening in the brain,
Mhm.
but forgotten more the intuitive part of it.
Right.
So of course, it's all, we also have feelings and thoughts and all that, but that understanding, making it uh, demystify it. So it has always been here. It's energy,
Right.
it's physics, but within that we have a huge potential. And when you talk about in corporate life and in business, you always talk about potential and
Mhm.
how can you develop your market and blah blah blah. So when you hear about potential, then the ears start flapping and everything. So so that we as humans and then organizations have a potential that we have not released or unleashed or found or whatever. And then there's ways of doing that. But going back to the future trends, it's also communicating it from that perspective. So you have some trends, and when you go through those, most of them can understand what they're about. And then you talk about they have some consequences. And they can also understand that. And these consequences, they lead to that we have to educate ourselves or train or understand that we have certain skills or competences that we need to develop. And that leads again to that will change or transform the way that we do our business. So when you do that sort of very simple talk with them, it becomes easier to understand. And then you try and see it from a business perspective. You have some potential you have not released.
But it's a work in progress, right? It's work in progress, not only from the vantage point of the product and the service that's been offered, in how up to date and current is that, and how much of a demand is that from their core value offering as a business or a corporation, but it's also a work in progress for the individuals. So be it the staff, the leadership who are working for these organizations, but also the recipients out there. Who are they serving? Who are they marketing to? Who are their customers? Is it B2B or B2C? All of those pieces are big moving parts, because we know that there are certain industries who are more open and adaptive and receptive to that world called energy, without it sounding too woo and off planet and like you're doing something very left field, but rather it being a knowing and an understanding and using it as a superpower for individuals to enhance the better of their lives of not only their employees, but also building a better culture within the corporation or organization so they can thrive better as human beings. That's providing it's sitting in an organization and a culture that actually cares for their employees, because they all say they do. I've been in corporations where they say they do, but doing it is a whole different thing. It's rather than it just being a check off of a list, but nevertheless, it's still there because of peer pressure on a corporate on a corporate perspective. So it's a work in progress on so many different levels. And I would imagine you're seeing that on a different spectrum because you are out in the Nordic part of that world. And that culture in itself would speak very differently to a North American or a European culture of how receptive they are to it. So have you seen that shift? Because I know you do travel a fair bit, so you're probably observant to.
It is sometimes I remember one workshop where it's a big pharmaceutical company in Denmark, so but they are all over the world, and they had a workshop with leaders, and the leaders came. They were based here, but some of them came from other countries, like South America, for instance. And we were doing this exercise where I use the 9 trends, and I asked them to pick 3 of them. They can pick them from based on their work or their personal life, but and then they talk about why they have chosen those 3. And one of the women, she came from South America, and she was saying it's so interesting because she was arguing why she had chosen those 3 that she had. And one of them was from external to internal sustainability first. Instead of we are always looking at external sustainability. And then she had chosen another one that has to do with dominance to dualism. It's talking about how we combine feminine and masculine energy, not our sex, but the energies.
Yes.
And she said, it's so interesting, I work here in Scandinavia, and you think that you are, this country is so modern, but I find this country, it's Denmark I'm talking about, much more masculine.
Mhm.
So where I come from, in South America, we are actually was her perspective,
Mhm.
much more aligned with our
Mhm.
energies and
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
reflective and more caring,
Yeah.
and then she works in a big corporate pharmaceutical company based with headquarters in Denmark,
Yeah.
and it's so. So going back to your thing about culture
Yeah.
is a huge
Yeah.
parameter in this work. It is.
Absolutely. Not only from the energetic leadership perspective on a corporate and a professional level, but I imagine there's a big influence on a individual level. So we all live in our certain communities and environments, and we build these um, silos, if you will, of people
Mm,
who we want to let into our homes and in our community and not nuclear or extended. That's still a culture that lives within that. And then layered onto that is if there is a clear, definite difference in terms of a religious perspective or even a different culture. So my heritage is Indian, so I would bring an
mm,
element of that cultural perspective layered
mm,
onto my North American or Western culture as well. So merging of all of these cultures, I think, is super interesting. But again, to your point of working for an organization that is very much in that masculine and very structured way of working,
mm,
or individuals who are not in that space, that shift really makes a big difference. So it kind of makes me wonder what happens to the woman you're referencing when she goes home? Does she
mm,
stand further into her feminine power as she has maybe gone off scale in
mm,
over masculating herself in the corporate world and in that world as well? So I'm just curious of these open-ended questions of how people look at it in life, and maybe even a little self-reflection for me to say, how do I behave in certain environments? But that I think goes to the world at large because there is a
mm.
shift. There is a shift that
Oh,
happens.
there's a huge shift. So there's both this cultural thing, and we can have different backgrounds, and we work in other countries, and also, but there's also the generations that
Yeah,
we have, the boomers and Gen
that's
Z
right.
and so forth. And when you look at that, these generations and see their characteristics,
Yeah.
you can see that they are becoming much more conscious of these feminine and masculine.
Yeah.
They are also becoming more sensitive and what have we. But luckily, we are seeing that they are much more
Mm.
open to dialogue, open, but also vulnerable. Uh, in the Danish newspaper the other day, we had there was one had put up a comment, and he said that he has actually quit his job because he could not, the amount of attention that young people wanted today, he could not live up to it
Wow.
because he didn't even give his wife that much attention. so so it sometimes I find it, you can be really sad and think, oh, with this, what is going to happen? But also it is also quite funny,
Yeah.
because what if we just sat down and had a talk about, because maybe we are not that different. Of
Yeah.
course, we have different roles in each, each generation has maybe like
Hmm.
the boomers just right after the Second World War,
Yeah.
they have to rebuild.
Different
So
characters.
so so and now we are seeing that after the internet we also have to do something. So there it will always fluctuate.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but being scared of the conversation, I think, is really something that can be not very productive.
Hmm.
So the conversation to have open dialogues is really important.
Absolutely. But it goes back to that space of not being aware and
Mm,
being fearful to a certain degree or to a larger degree of the unknown. And
mm,
that's the same thing in the energetic leadership space. So, having a conversation about energy to individuals who are very analytical and not considered anything called energy and how that
mm,
would make somebody feel, it is
mm.
coming from a place of the unknown and that element of fear of, I don't know what's going to come out of this, so therefore I don't even want to touch it. I don't even want to entertain it, which
No.
is the same thing I feel a lot of people are grappling with of personality and characteristic differences of let's just sit at the table and have a conversation. Are there going to be
Mm,
some peaks and valleys in that conversation? Absolutely. But at the end of
mm,
it, ultimately we're still human beings and we still want to be heard, seen, and felt.
mm.
So how can we get to that space? And if it means
Yeah.
doing that roller coaster ride, be it on a one-to-one level or be it on a corporation leadership level, there's just going to be a win-win out of it, from
Yes.
my
That is.
perspective.
Oh, yes. So we will all of us will be better off. I have another, I find very interesting example. Um, it was an economist in Denmark in the national bank, so high up, and he said, "We have not been very good at what we're doing."
Hmm.
And him saying it, his name is Thomas Har. And he said, we did not predict that we got this inflation
Hmm.
crisis in 2021.
Hmm.
We were too busy looking into our models and data and everything that we didn't look out the window. That's what I call it, to make it more sort of down to earth. So we didn't use our sense of situation or our intuition, and
Right.
we didn't, because you cannot get everything into a model or data, and
Yeah,
not when life is happening so fast.
that's right. Yeah.
But he said, oh, there are two very top star economists in the US.
Hmm.
And they managed, among a lot of other economists, to predict that crisis
Hmm.
because they used both, you could say the rational or the masculine
Hmm.
energy and all the tools.
Hmm.
And they also used their intuition. They looked out the window. What is it we see? And they,
Right.
put it all together.
Right.
And the reason why I bring these examples up is to try and make it specific or concrete for the
Hmm.
corporate world,
Hmm.
that this energetic leadership is not dangerous. We are doing it. Some people are actually quite good at doing it. Maybe they don't know,
Yeah.
what is actually going on.
Yes.
And the way in is through our intuition.
Yeah.
But you know all about it. But to have these, example that gives a little bit of street credit, because you have to have examples from their own world
Yes.
that they
Exactly.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting how there are many individuals, be it from the corporate space or be it from the entrepreneurial or startup space, but in that professional world, how individuals can lean into something and recognize it's working, so they lean into it more because we build trust, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as we bring it into that conversation of intuition or a higher power or something outside of this physical vessel of who we are, it there becomes an element of being standoffish and being uncomfortable with that
Mm,
language, even though there's a higher probability and possibility of that individual following their own intuition and leaning into their own intuition and following that guidance so it becomes very instinctive,
mm,
which ultimately is what we are saying in this conversation is part of the
mm,
energetic leadership.
yeah.
It's part of the world of energy and how we lean into it and what we use it. But
Mm,
sometimes it's the labels and the connotations and the identities that many play turn people off because of the language that's used to position it, and it can trigger individuals on that process as to what does that really mean. And I don't understand it, and I've heard it in that platform, and I don't like it because it's got a negative connotation to it, so I don't want to
mm,
touch it and I don't want to identify with it, even though the principles and the characteristics of it is what I do.
mm,
So I
yes.
find that being so interesting how soon as we start labeling it as something, people get very, very uncomfortable with that space.
Oh, very much so. So, even using the word spirituality is
Yes.
really it's really difficult. And that's back to the conversation again, or also that in order to be able to look out the window, whether you are seeing spirituality or whatever, but just having authentic curiosity, just like a child, that is really what responsible leaders, should have, and they don't have it. So to sort of be, you could also say you have to be awake. Uh, so if we say that if you're not awake, you are asleep. And
Yes.
do you want to be a leader asleep? No, I don't think you either perceive
Yes.
yourselves like that or
Yes.
you are asleep.
Yeah.
But then you need to sort of open a little bit and get some insight of what's
What
going
is
on.
exactly.
Yeah,
And that's a very rudimentary way of looking at it, right?
yeah,
In in the stark contrasts and very basic language for people to understand it, rather than
mm,
taking any other connotation or big theory or philosophy around it. It's how
yeah,
much more aware do you want to be in the situation? And the
yeah,
more info, what we know for sure is the more information we have, the better decisions we make,
yeah.
period. So,
And also I like you saying the language, because a lot of it is actually about finding the language for this
yes,
new thing.
yeah,
I remember one who wrote to me and she said, "Oh, it's so nice that finally someone is trying to put words to what it is that
mhm,
I'm, doing, feeling, whatever."
nice. Yeah,
Uh, and I'm just, just like you are. We are just finding our ways.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
It's very interesting how there needs to be, I feel, an element of rewriting that needs to happen
mm,
because
yeah,
the connotation and the translation of certain words that you have and I have are very different, even though we're talking about the same word called energy.
yeah,
And I think that needs to be reformatted
yeah,
and rediscussed so we're both really talking about the same word and the same meaning behind it. And then that's a really good jumping off point to where we're moving forward in that next leg of conversation and change. But I think there's often a mistranslation of just the basic words that we feel are the same or we think
Yeah.
we believe
Mm.
are the same, but they're really not.
No. And just understanding that, when you say to people that everything is energy, they don't know what you're talking about.
That's right.
What do you mean?
That's
And
right.
that
Yeah.
it was even new for me 10 years ago. So I can
Yeah.
understand where they are.
Yeah. It's
And why is it so important to understand? But
yeah.
maybe it's also that we cannot really imagine how big a shift in evolution this is going to be. I
Hmm.
don't think we can imagine
No.
really how big it is. It's not
Yeah.
just another little squeeze and we turn a little bit. It's huge.
Yeah. It's going to be, yeah,
So,
it's going to be a ride. It's going to be a ride for those who understand it and choose to embark on it, and
mm,
equally just as ride for the others who don't.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's beautiful. So what's next?
Like,
What's next? What's next for you?
what's next for me? I am doing a TED Talk
Very good.
within the next year. That's my
Very
plan.
good. That's
Yes,
exciting.
but
Yes.
but otherwise, it's still continuing with you could say promoting energetic leadership. But uh, like many others, we are heading towards golden opportunity to release our potential. And
Hmm.
I think we need everyone who is able to push that movement.
Yeah.
So that is really what I'm into. But so it's still doing keynotes and workshops and
Beautiful.
one-to-one and partnerships and
Yeah.
whatever. Some of it we don't even know what is going to happen.
No,
Then there will be something new.
that's right. As long as
Like,
we intend for it and move forward, that's what
yeah,
we have.
like this weekend, I've been together with other energy workers, and there was a scientist who does this. He called it water bridge,
Hmm.
where when you put you have water in two sort of glasses, and you put electricity to it, and then the water can
Hmm.
walk from one
Hmm.
glass to another.
Hmm.
And which apparently scientists don't quite understand why that is. Uh, but we were talking about energy also, or maybe we will be able to also talk to water, talk with water, talk to
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. It's already
it
talking
is,
to us. It's already
yes, it
talking to
is.
us. We're just not listening.
No. So
Many of us.
yes, there's. I think it's so fascinating.
It is. It is. It's going to
Yeah.
be an eventful next couple of years for sure. But I'm also equally curious and excited to see where that's going to lead in this corporate world, whatever that word corporate means for individuals.
Mm,
Existing businesses, new businesses, but companies, individuals, clusters, whatever you want to call them, come together who want to serve people.
mm.
And then equally more curious in terms of what the offering that's going to be. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see
There's a
how it's going to
there's
unfold.
a lot there's a lot at stake. So,
Absolutely.
how are they going to
Yeah,
divide themselves
that's right.
all,
Because it
all
ultimately will be.
down to employees and customers?
Yeah, yeah.
We have the power.
We do that. Yes, we do.
Mm,
Yes, we do. Yeah, absolutely. And talk about power is your expertise that you so gracefully shared with me today and the listeners. So I'm honored and grateful for you sharing your wisdom and your expertise that you give to that part of your world, which hopefully will trickle out into other parts of the world so we can be more energetically aligned and in tuned, especially when in a place of leadership. Doesn't necessarily mean C-suite, but it could be even leadership in our own homes, relationships, partnerships. and self on how we want to
Yes,
navigate that. So thank you so much for sharing today with me. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.